So this is question 2 of 11.2. In 11.2, we're talking about paired data. So that means that these observations are dependent of each other. One affects the other. And you'll see that when we get into word problems of what that looks like. But so it's asking us to determine the difference. D stands for difference, I. And so we'll start by opening our data into StatCrunch. We're going to go into stat, and if we're talking about paired, we're going to be in T-stats. Nothing else has paired as an option. So T-stats paired. Sample 1 is always going to be the X. Sample 2 is Y. It does get messed up if you mix them up. And then check this box right here, the Save Differences. Click Compute and just exit that out so we have this differences column. So what that did was just subtract X from Y, just like how it asks you to do right here. And that's the quick way that it does it all for you. And then you can just type in these differences. Okay, now this differences with a bar on top. So if we remember that sample mean is represented with an X bar, think of it that way. It's the mean of these differences. And so what we're going to do is, this is from our first test, we're going to go into stat and summary stats columns, and we're going to click on the differences column. And we're looking for the mean and the standard deviation. So compute, and there's our mean right there. And now this S with the little d is a standard deviation of the differences. So that number right there. Okay, now this is what we've been doing in the past, except for what we were doing in 11.1 with the two samples. But we're looking at the mean of differences. And so just like in the last one, we're saying our null hypothesis is that these are both the same and that there's no difference in between them. And then we're trying to find if there is a difference. And so we're testing if the mean difference is less than 0. And so our null hypothesis is the equal to and the less than, this right here. So now we're going to compute that. And we do that by going into stats, T-stats paired, just like we did at the beginning to find the differences. Don't mix these up. And we got to change the sign so that it's less than. And our p-value is right there. Okay. We're looking at a 0.05 level of significance. So I'm going to write that. Oh, that's not what I want. Sorry, guys. And our p-value is 0.012. And this one is greater than. And so if that's greater than, then we're going to reject the null. And we reject the null because there is sufficient evidence to conclude that the mean differences is less than 0. Okay, now we're going to do a confidence interval, and this is from last test, so the chapters 8 and 9. And so we're going to go back over to our data, and we're going to go to stat, tstats, paired again. We're still talking about paired data, so it's always going to be paired. But instead of doing the hypothesis test, we're doing a confidence interval, and it's a 95%, which is already there. And then we can click on compute, and our lower and upper limits are right there. Your lower bound is correct, but your upper bound is incorrect. Oh, my 0 was wrong. Sorry. Mistyped. There we go. And that is how you solve that question.